In the tapestry of our spiritual walk, there exist golden trials, 10 life-altering challenges that are not meant to break us, but to unlock our hidden potential. The first of these is the test of faith. Faith is more than a belief. It's the very foundation of our connection with God. When everything around you crumbles and your prayers seem to echo unanswered, faith becomes the bridge between despair and divine promise. Hebrews 11:6 reminds us that without faith, it is impossible to please God, emphasizing its centrality to our spiritual life. Just as Abraham trusted God to the point of almost sacrificing Isaac, his only son, in the fulfillment of a promise, we are often called to step into the unknown. The chaos may feel unbearable, but in that chaos, God molds our resilience. Faith is not about understanding God's plans, but about trusting Him, even when we don't. Perhaps you face the loss of a job, the pain of a broken relationship, or the fear of illness. These are modern-day tests of faith. They are not punishments, but platforms for transformation. They compel us to abandon our illusions of control and cling to the unwavering strength of God. In choosing faith, we walk in alignment with divine purpose, even when the path is obscured. Naturally, this leads to the test of obedience, a challenge just as demanding. Obedience is the active expression of faith. It's not just hearing God's word, it's living it. Jonah's story offers a profound illustration. Called to preach to Nineveh, Jonah fled in the opposite direction. His resistance led to a tempest and 3 days inside a great fish. But once he surrendered, he became a vessel of redemption for an entire city. This isn't just about ancient narratives. Today, God may be asking us to forgive someone who hurt us deeply, to step out of our comfort zones, or to leave behind something familiar for something greater. Obedience will stretch you, sometimes asking you to make choices that defy logic. It can mean forgiving when you'd rather forget, giving when you feel you've nothing left, or going where you feel unequipped. It is precisely in these decisions that our spiritual muscles grow. James 1:22 warns us not to merely listen to the word, but to do what it says. Obedience may cost comfort, but it births destiny. And from obedience flows the test of patience, a virtue forged not in ease, but in waiting. Patience is trusting God's timeline over our own. Joseph's journey from betrayal to a position of power in Egypt is a testament to this. Sold by his brothers, falsely accused, imprisoned, Joseph had every reason to question God's plan. But he remained faithful. In time, God exalted him, proving that the waiting wasn't wasted. It was preparation. Many of us find ourselves in similar periods of divine delay. Perhaps you're waiting on healing, a breakthrough, or the restoration of a relationship. These seasons test our endurance, but they also deepen our trust. Isaiah 40:31 offers hope. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Waiting is not inactivity. It's a spiritual discipline that aligns us with heaven's agenda. The journey continues with the test of sacrifice, a profound challenge requiring us to relinquish what we hold dear for the sake of God's greater purpose. Sacrifice is the ultimate demonstration of trust and love. Choosing to surrender comfort, possessions, or even dreams to follow a higher calling. This test may feel overwhelming, as it calls us to part with parts of ourselves that define security and identity. Yet, it is through sacrifice that our relationship with God deepens and matures. Consider the story of the rich young ruler in Mark 10:17-22. Though he faithfully kept the commandments, Jesus saw that his attachment to wealth blocked him from complete devotion. When asked to sell all he had and give to the poor, he walked away sorrowful. This illustrates the gravity of sacrifice, not as punishment, but as the doorway to true freedom and blessing. It prompts us to ask, what is God asking me to release? Is it a job, a relationship, a habitual mindset, or even a personal ambition? Sacrifice creates space for God's transformative work. When we let go of our attachments, we make room for grace to flow freely into our lives, often in ways we never anticipated. Romans 12:1 encourages us to offer our bodies as living sacrifices, a daily, ongoing act of surrender that aligns our will with God's. It is a continuous process of dying to self and rising to divine purpose. Following sacrifice is the test of forgiveness, a challenge that liberates both the giver and the receiver. Forgiveness is not merely a gesture. It is a powerful act of faith and obedience that breaks the chains of bitterness and pain. It demands we release the grip of past wounds and trust God to enact justice and healing in His timing. Many struggle to forgive deep betrayals or hurts that have lingered for years, but holding on to resentment only ensnares us in spiritual bondage. Jesus' parable of the unforgiving servant, Matthew 18:21-35, warns us of the consequences of withholding forgiveness. When Peter asked how many times to forgive, Jesus replied, 77 times, underscoring the boundless nature of grace we are called to extend in our own lives. Forgiveness may mean letting go of anger toward a family member, a colleague, or even ourselves. It doesn't condone wrongdoing, but frees us from being prisoners of the past. Colossians 3:13 exhorts, "Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you." Forgiveness is a testament to our spiritual growth, reflecting the mercy we have received. Connected deeply with forgiveness is the test of integrity, a call to unwavering honesty and moral courage. Integrity involves doing what is right even when no one is watching, remaining true to God's principles despite external pressures or personal cost. It is a crucible that reveals the core of our character and the authenticity of our faith. Daniel's experience in the lion's den, Daniel 6, vividly demonstrates integrity. Despite a royal decree that threatened his life if he prayed to anyone but the king, Daniel remained faithful to God. His unwavering commitment led to divine protection and ultimately exposed the deceit of his accusers. His story teaches us that integrity is about loyalty to God over convenience or fear. In our everyday decisions, integrity tests may appear as temptations to cut corners, tell white lies, or compromise values to gain favor. Yet, Proverbs 10:9 assures, "Whoever walks in integrity walks securely." Living with integrity builds a foundation of trust and peace, anchoring us firmly in God's truth. It challenges us to examine where we may have faltered and invites us to realign with God's standards. These 6 golden challenges, faith, obedience, patience, sacrifice, forgiveness, and integrity, are pivotal in shaping a life of spiritual breakthrough. They demand courage, trust, and surrender, but the rewards are immeasurable. Deeper intimacy with God, peace in trials, and transformation that touches every aspect of our being. As we face these trials, we are reminded that God does not test us to destroy, but to develop us into the people He created us to be. As we journey deeper into these life-changing trials, the test of love emerges as the most profound and defining of all. Love is the essence of God's nature and the greatest commandment He has given us. This test challenges us to love others as God loves us, unconditionally, sacrificially, and persistently, even when it seems impossible. 1 Corinthians 13:13 teaches us that faith and hope are vital, but love surpasses all. True love is not merely a fleeting feeling. It is an active commitment. It manifests as kindness, patience, and forgiveness, even toward those who may not deserve it. It pushes us beyond self-interest and calls us to prioritize the well-being of others. Loving those who have hurt us, the marginalized, or even strangers, is a powerful spiritual exercise that reveals the depth of our faith and the authenticity of our relationship with God. Reflect on moments in your life when you were asked to love deeply, perhaps forgiving a painful betrayal, caring for a difficult family member, or extending grace to someone who wronged you repeatedly. Such acts may have tested your limits, but also brought profound growth. Jesus commanded us in John 13:34-35, "Love one another as I have loved you." Our love for others is a tangible demonstration of our discipleship and connection to Him. Parallel to love, the test of humility shapes our spiritual maturity. Humility requires us to acknowledge our limitations, submit to God's authority, and serve others selflessly. It stands in opposition to pride, the root of many spiritual failures. Humility is not self-deprecation, but a realistic acknowledgement of our dependence on God and the value of others. The Bible offers countless examples of humility's power. Jesus Himself exemplified ultimate humility by taking on human flesh and serving others, even washing His disciples' feet. Philippians 2:3-4 encourages us, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others." Practicing humility often means surrendering control and ego for the sake of unity and love. In your own life, humility might call you to admit mistakes, seek forgiveness, or serve in unseen ways. It may challenge you to listen more and speak less, to place others' needs above your own, and to recognize that every blessing is a gift from God. Through humility, God exalts us in due time, strengthening our character and drawing us closer to His heart. Closely linked is the test of endurance, which demands unwavering perseverance through trials and tribulations. Endurance is not mere stamina, but a determined spirit that refuses to give up, regardless of hardship. The spiritual path is littered with obstacles designed to test our commitment and refine our souls. James 1:2-4 calls us to consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Endurance cultivates maturity and completeness, enabling us to stand firm in faith amidst storms. The Apostle Paul endured imprisonment, beatings, and rejection, yet his steadfastness inspired generations. In your journey, endurance might be required in long seasons of waiting, continual rejection, or persistent challenges that test your resolve. Remember, it is in these moments that the seeds of breakthrough are sown. Holding fast to God's promises and leaning on His strength sustains us. Finally, we encounter the test of hope. the sustaining force that keeps us looking forward to God's goodness despite present difficulties. Hope is the confident expectation that God's plans for us are good and that His promises are true. It empowers us to press on when despair beckons. Romans 15:13 offers a beautiful benediction. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Hope is not naive optimism, but a firm anchor for the soul, grounded in the unchanging nature of God. During dark seasons, hope shines as a light that pierces the shadows. It fuels our prayers, motivates our actions, and comforts our hearts. It transforms waiting into preparation and suffering into testimony. Together, these 10 golden tests — faith, obedience, patience, sacrifice, forgiveness, integrity, love, humility, endurance, and hope — form a spiritual crucible through which God refines us. Each challenge builds upon the last, creating a cohesive path to transformation. When we embrace these tests, we unlock breakthroughs that redefine our lives, deepen our relationship with God, and empower us to fulfill our divine destiny. Embracing these golden challenges requires more than passive acceptance. It demands active engagement and deliberate transformation. Each test is an opportunity to step into a higher version of ourselves, a process marked by internal breakthroughs that ripple outward to impact every facet of our lives. The test of faith calls us to trust when the path is unclear, nurturing a reliance on divine guidance rather than our limited understanding. In doing so, we develop resilience and a steadfast heart that does not waver in the face of adversity. Similarly, the test of obedience is a call to align our actions with divine will. Obedience can sometimes mean stepping into discomfort or surrendering our personal desires. But it is in this surrender that true freedom is found. When we obey, we participate in a divine partnership, becoming co-creators of the life God intends for us. Jonah's story reminds us that resistance delays blessing, but submission opens doors to restoration and impact. Patience, often the hardest virtue to cultivate, transforms waiting from a passive state into an active trust. It teaches us that God's timing is perfect, even when it clashes with our sense of urgency. Joseph's life illustrates how patience allows God to prepare us for the fullness of His blessings, ensuring that our breakthroughs are sustainable and aligned with His plan. Waiting is not wasted time. It is preparation. Sacrifice, often perceived as loss, is reframed through spiritual eyes as a gain of eternal significance. When we release our hold on earthly attachments, we create space for divine blessings that far outweigh what was given up. The rich young ruler's struggle invites us to examine our own attachments and consider what God might be calling us to surrender for a richer spiritual inheritance. Romans 12:1's call to present ourselves as living sacrifices invites continual surrender and transformation. Forgiveness is a powerful liberator that frees us from the chains of resentment and bitterness. It is a radical act of grace that restores peace and fosters healing. The story of the unforgiving servant challenges us to mirror the mercy we have received. Forgiveness is not forgetting the wrong, but releasing its hold, trusting God to work justice and reconciliation in His timing. This act breaks spiritual bondage and invites a fresh start. Integrity stands as a beacon of character in a world often clouded by compromise. Daniel's unwavering commitment amidst danger exemplifies how living with integrity honors God and influences those around us. It reassures us that even when circumstances threaten to sway us, staying true to God's principles builds a foundation of trustworthiness and peace. Proverbs 10:9 confirms that integrity leads to security, a profound peace that surpasses external validation. The test of love elevates all others, as it is the very nature of God reflected in our lives. Loving sacrificially, forgiving endlessly, and showing kindness without expectation reflect God's heart to the world. This love is transformational, breaking down barriers and healing wounds. John 13:34-35 reminds us that our love for one another is the signature of discipleship, the visible proof of our connection to Christ. Humility dissolves pride and opens our hearts to divine influence. It positions us as learners and servants, willing to put others first. Through humility, we reflect the character of Christ, who humbled himself to serve. This posture cultivates peace, unity, and a heart attuned to God's leading. Philippians 2's exhortation to value others above ourselves calls us to a radical reorientation of priorities. Endurance equips us to remain steadfast amid challenges. It transforms trials from obstacles into stepping stones, developing perseverance and character. The Apostle Paul's life is a testament to enduring faith, remaining committed despite suffering, knowing that such trials produce spiritual maturity. James encourages us to embrace trials joyfully, recognizing their refining purpose. Finally, hope is the sustaining light that propels us forward. It is the confident expectation of God's faithfulness, empowering us to overcome despair and live with joy. Hope anchors the soul in turbulent times, promising renewal and victory. Romans 15:13's blessing overflows with the promise of joy and peace as we trust God's plans. Together, these tests compose a spiritual roadmap for breakthrough. They invite us into a transformative journey where each challenge serves as a gateway to a deeper, richer life aligned with divine purpose. Facing these trials head-on is how we unlock the potential God has placed within us, emerging not only victorious, but equipped to impact the world around us. Understanding and embracing the 10 golden tests leads to profound personal and spiritual transformation. These challenges, faith, obedience, patience, sacrifice, forgiveness, integrity, love, humility, endurance, and hope, are more than hurdles. They are gateways to breakthrough, shaping us into the fullness of who we are called to be. When we lean into these trials, we unlock potential that was previously hidden, allowing God's purpose to manifest powerfully in our lives. The journey through these tests is not linear or easy. It requires daily commitment, courage, and a willingness to be refined like gold in fire. Each trial builds on the previous one, weaving a tapestry of growth that touches every aspect of our being. This process deepens our relationship with God, fortifies our character, and equips us to walk boldly in the calling He has placed on us. In the test of faith, we learn to trust beyond sight, embracing God's promises even when circumstances challenge our understanding. This faith forms the foundation for all other tests. Without it, obedience becomes hollow, patience impossible, and hope fragile. With faith, we step forward confidently, knowing that God's plans are perfect and that He is working all things for our good. The test of obedience calls us to action. Translating faith into tangible steps, it requires surrender and the courage to follow God's directives, even when they lead into discomfort or uncertainty. Through obedience, we align our will with God's and open ourselves to His transformative power. Patience teaches us the art of waiting, an active, hopeful trust in God's timing. As we endure seasons of waiting, like Joseph, we are molded into vessels ready for God's blessings. This endurance is not passive but dynamic, requiring continual trust and perseverance. Sacrifice, though challenging, is a vital part of spiritual growth. By releasing attachments, we make room for God's greater work in our lives. The act of sacrifice reflects our love and commitment to God's kingdom, demonstrating that we value His purposes above our own desires. Forgiveness is perhaps one of the hardest tests, yet it is essential for freedom and healing. Choosing to forgive releases us from bitterness and allows God's peace to reign. It reflects the heart of God and breaks chains that bind us spiritually. Integrity grounds us in truth and righteousness, even when it costs us. Living with integrity ensures that our faith is genuine and consistent, honoring God in all circumstances. It builds trust with others and cultivates inner peace. Love is the greatest test, encompassing all others. It challenges us to love unconditionally, reflecting God's boundless love for us. Loving others, especially when difficult, reveals the depth of our spiritual maturity and commitment. Humility keeps us grounded, reminding us of our dependence on God and the value of others. It fosters community, compassion, and openness to God's guidance, enabling us to grow and serve effectively. Endurance sustains us through trials, strengthening our resolve to persevere. It equips us to face difficulties without losing heart, knowing that these experiences refine us and bring us closer to God's intended purpose. Finally, hope is the anchor of our souls, fueling our journey with joy and peace. It assures us that God's promises will come to pass, even when the path seems long and arduous. Hope keeps us moving forward, confident in God's goodness. Together, these tests form a comprehensive blueprint for transformation. By embracing them, we open the door to breakthroughs that change the trajectory of our lives. We become reflections of God's glory, testimonies of His faithfulness, and agents of His kingdom on earth. Remember, these challenges are not punishments, but invitations. Opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more aligned with God's will. As you face each test, lean on God's strength, draw from His word, and trust that He is working all things for your good. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the 10 golden tests that can transform your life. If you found this message inspiring and empowering, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on more life-changing content. Be sure to follow the channel for regular encouragement and drop a comment below sharing which test spoke to you the most or how you've experienced these challenges in your own life. Your story matters, and together we can grow stronger in faith and purpose. Stay blessed, stay faithful, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.